Hello, my friend. Thank you for joining me tonight for another calming sleep story. If you're new here, welcome. And if you've listened before, I'm so glad you've returned. These stories are made to help you drift into rest, to quiet the mind and soften the body, so that sleep can find you gently. Before we begin, I'd love to hear from you. We're exploring different kinds of stories right now. Cozy village tales, gentle histories, and timeless myths like the one you'll hear tonight. So please, let us know in the comments which kinds you enjoy most, or which stories you'd love us to tell. Your feedback truly shapes the direction of this channel. And if these stories bring you peace, please take a moment to subscribe. And if you know someone, a friend or loved one, who sometimes struggles to fall asleep, I'd be grateful if you'd share this with them as well. It means so much to help this restful space grow. Now, tonight's story is one of the most enduring myths of all, the tale of Orpheus, a musician whose songs could soften the hardest of hearts and stir even the silent shadows of the underworld. It is a story of love, of longing, and of twilight journeys through worlds both seen and unseen. A perfect story to carry with you as you drift toward sleep. So for now, let's get comfortable. Take a deep breath in and let it go slowly. Feel your body settling, a little heavier with each exhale. Soften the jaw, loosen the shoulders. Let the hands rest. With every moment, you are safe. You are cared for. And you are already on your way to sleep. And now, let's begin our journey into Orpheus in Twilight. The story begins in ancient Greece, at the soft edge of evening, when the brightness of day gives way to the gentleness of night. The village rests on a hillside, its stone houses glowing faintly in the fading light. Their walls, warmed all day by the sun, now release the last traces of heat into the cooling air. Shadows stretch long across the narrow streets, where shutters are slowly pulled closed, and oil lamps begin to flicker in windows. From the kitchens of these homes come scents that drift into the dusk. Fresh bread still warm from the oven. Olive oil poured over herbs and cheese. The faint sweetness of figs and honey. Simple food, but made with care, nourishing body and spirit alike. Along the lane, children's laughter echoes faintly. A game has ended, and voices trail off into the comfort of home. You might hear the last hurried footsteps of a boy rushing back before he is called, or the quiet murmur of a mother's voice at the door. The shepherd returns at this hour too, guiding his flock down the slope. Their bells ring softly, slow, irregular chimes that mingle with the evening air. The animals move calmly, as though the whole world is ready to rest. And above all this, the sky changes. First gold, then rose, then violet, before deepening into the dark indigo of night. High above, the stars appear, one by one at first, tiny sparks scattered across a vast canvas. And then more, until the heavens seem to glow with their quiet fire. It is here, at the very edge of the village, where a boy sits. He is young, with dark hair that curls softly at his brow, and a gaze that drifts beyond what can be seen. In his hands rests a lyre, its strings worn smooth, its body polished by years of touch. His name is Orpheus, and though he is still only a boy, there is something within him that feels timeless, as though the music he plays does not come from him at all, but from some deeper source, flowing through his hands into the waiting night. He plucks the strings softly at first, a handful of notes, gentle and slow, like ripples across still water. Then a phrase begins to form, the kind of tune that does not demand attention, but simply arrives, like the sigh of a breeze through the olive trees, or the hush of waves against the distant shore. The village listens. The baker, finishing his work, leans against the doorframe of his shop. He closes his eyes for just a moment, letting the melody wash over him. A woman carrying a jug of water pauses by the well, forgetting the weight in her hands, caught by the sound that drifts through the dusk. Even the shepherd's flock seems stilled, their bells now chiming softly in rhythm with the song. The animals too appear to listen. Orpheus does not look up. He does not play for an audience. He plays as though he is alone, as though he is simply uncovering something already hidden in the air around him. And in this moment, in this village at twilight, the world feels different, calmer, more connected. The music threads through the houses, settles over the cobblestones, and rises toward the stars just beginning to gleam above. This is where Orpheus's story begins, not yet as a hero, not yet as a legend, but as a boy with a lyre and a gift for sound, bringing stillness to a village and wonder to the night. Orpheus sits with his lyre in his hands, and with every touch of his fingers the world itself seems to lean closer. The notes are delicate at first, as if he is simply testing the strings. But then the melody grows, like a breath that lengthens, like a thought that drifts into fullness. His music moves outward. It settles on the houses of the village. It winds along the narrow lanes. It slips through the olive groves and out toward the fields, and everything listens. The trees are the first to notice. They stand in stillness, their branches swaying not with the wind, but with the quiet rhythm of his song. Leaves shimmer faintly, as if nodding to the music. Then the river listens, its waters slow, the rush of current softening into a hush, as though it too wishes to hear more clearly. The stones along its banks rest beneath the flow, and even they seem to absorb the sound. The earth listens. The ground beneath him feels steady, anchored by the tones of the lyre. And for a moment, it seems that the whole hillside breathes in harmony with the boy's song. And then, the animals gather. A bird perched high on a fig tree tilts its head, then drifts downward in a spiral, alighting on a branch nearer the sound. A stray dog, once wandering the lanes for scraps, pads silently to the edge of the boy's home. Its eyes soften, its ears flicker, and soon it lies down quietly, surrendering to rest beside the door. From the fields, a pair of goats wander near, their bells ringing softly in unison with the melody. Even the sheep, slow and lumbering, gather together, not in fear, but in stillness. And then, silence. Not silence of absence, but silence of attention. The kind of quiet that means the whole world is listening. Orpheus plays on. His fingers glide across the strings, not hurried, not forced, but steady, as though guided by something beyond himself. The song deepens, circling back on itself, rising and falling in gentle waves. And each time the notes repeat, they seem to sink deeper, drawing the listener into stillness. The people of the village are listening too. At their windows, they lean forward, lanterns glowing faintly behind them. No one speaks. No one wishes to break the spell. And the boy continues, unaware of the audience he holds. For Orpheus does not play to be admired. He plays because the music is part of him, because the music is the way he breathes, the way he prays, the way he belongs to the world. And so the night unfolds around him. The river listens, the trees listen, the animals listen, the earth itself listens, and all are gathered together in the quiet circle of his song. Among those who listened to Orpheus's song, there was one who felt it most deeply. Her name was Eurydice. She did not arrive with great fanfare. No sudden entrance, no grand display. She was a quiet joy, the kind of presence that brightens a room without ever needing to claim it. When she walked through the village lanes, people smiled without knowing why. When she spoke, her voice carried warmth like firelight on a cool evening. And when she listened to Orpheus play, her eyes reflected something rare. Not admiration, but recognition, as though the music that lived in him found its echo in her heart. Their time together was simple, and yet it glowed with something eternal. They walked the fields at dusk, the grasses brushing against their hands. She would laugh softly, and he would answer with a phrase of music, the notes tumbling into the air like her laughter made sound. They wandered through olive groves, stopping to rest where the shade was deep. He would lean against the trunk of a tree, plucking gentle tunes, while she wove crowns of flowers, placing them one after another into his dark hair. Evenings were their own small world, a hearth's warm glow, bread shared between them, her hand resting lightly on his, while his lyre lay close at his side. It was a love unhurried, a love without demand, a love that existed in the quiet moments most people let slip away. But love, as bright as it can be, is always touched by shadow. The day came quietly, not with warning, not with preparation. A walk in the meadow. The same laughter, the same easy joy. And then, a sudden step into tall grass, a whisper beneath her feet. A serpent, unseen until that moment, a sharpness, a breath, and then silence. Yet even this is softened in memory, for we do not need to picture pain. We do not need to hold the harshness. Instead, imagine this: the meadow still glowing in sunlight, the flowers bending gently in the breeze. Her hand slipping from his, not with violence, but like a dream fading, like twilight giving way to night. Eurydice was gone, her warmth, her quiet laughter, her light beside the hearth, vanished from his world. And Orpheus, with his lyre, was left with silence. After Eurydice's passing, Orpheus's world grew quiet. The fields felt empty. The hearth seemed dim. Even the strings of his lyre carried sorrow, notes falling heavy, like rain upon stone. And yet, his love for her did not vanish. It deepened. It became a calling, a pull toward the place where her spirit had gone. So one evening, as twilight spread across the land, Orpheus set out, not toward the village, not toward the fields, but toward the darkened hills, where caves opened like silent mouths in the stone. He carried only his lyre, no torch, no blade, no guide but the music. The path downward was narrow, the air cooled with each step. The sound of the world above faded, until there was only his breathing and the steady rhythm of his feet. Step after step, echo after echo, silence after silence. The light thinned, dimming to a faint glow, until even the memory of day disappeared. Shadows folded in around him. The air grew still, and the underworld opened. First, the river, dark waters flowing endlessly. Its surface shimmered faintly in the half-light, like oil upon stone. The river carried whispers, voices of those who had crossed before. They rose and fell in soft murmurs, too faint to grasp, but always present. Orpheus paused. He placed his fingers to the strings and let a melody slip into the air. Gentle, slow, repeating like the tide. The waters quieted, the voices softened, and he crossed. Deeper still, the caves opened into wide halls. Columns of rock stretched upward, disappearing into shadow. Flickers of torchlight glowed faintly in the distance, like stars in a night sky. Step after step, echo after echo, silence after silence. And then, the thrones. Two figures seated side by side, Hades and Persephone. Not cruel, not harsh, but still watchful, eternal. Their faces were calm, their gaze steady, as though they had seen countless souls pass before. Yet in the silence, they waited. Orpheus lifted his lyre once more. He did not speak, for words could not carry what he held. Instead, he played. The notes rose softly, filling the vast chamber. They circled the thrones. They drifted along the stone walls. They sank into the earth itself. Music of love, music of longing, music that carried Eurydice's name without ever saying it. And even here, in the stillness of the underworld, the sound transformed the air. The torches flickered more gently. The river hushed its restless song. The silence grew warm, as though even shadow itself paused to listen. Hades leaned slightly forward. Persephone's eyes softened. And for the first time in an age, the underworld was moved. Not by power, not by fear, but by music. And so, the journey upward begins. The cave is hushed now, silent except for the sound of footsteps. First Orpheus, steady, deliberate. And then, just behind him, the faintest echo of Eurydice. The air feels cool and ancient. Each step stirs a whisper of dust. Each breath floats in the stillness, fragile, weightless, as though the entire underworld is listening. He remembers Hades' single command, one rule only: do not look back. The words are simple, and yet they seem to stretch across every step, as if the rule itself has become part of the path. Step after step, Orpheus counts softly in his mind. 1, 2, 3. Each step like the slow beat of a drum. Each step an echo that carries through the stone. Behind him, a lighter rhythm. The gentle brush of her sandals, the faint rise and fall of her breath. Almost like a memory walking, almost like a dream answering his own footsteps. And still, the temptation rises. How he longs to see her face, to catch even a glimpse of her eyes in the glow of twilight. But he keeps moving forward, eyes fixed on the dim shimmer of light far above. Every few steps he exhales slowly, as though releasing the weight of longing, as though reminding himself that love sometimes must trust the unseen. The path narrows. The echoes change, sometimes louder, sometimes fainter. And with each change, his heart skips. What if her sound were to vanish? What if the silence grew too thick? So he listens harder. He leans into the music of her presence, the brushing of her steps, the whisper of her breath. And every time he hears it, a quiet relief spreads through him, a warmth that says, she is here. The climb is long. The shadows curl like ribbons around them. The torchlight fades, then brightens, then fades again. Time itself feels strange here, as though the walk could last forever. The light ahead glows brighter now. Soft at first, then stronger. Like the edge of dawn, painted faintly on stone. The air shifts too. A trace of wind brushes his face. A hint of the world above. Freshness. Freedom. So close he can almost taste it. And behind him, still, the steps of Eurydice, the sound he clings to, the sound that tells him the journey is not in vain. Closer and closer now. The opening grows near. The cave exhales a cool breath of night air, and the stars, the first stars, begin to shimmer at the mouth of the passage. Orpheus slows for just a moment, not out of fear, but to let his heart catch up. So close to the end, so close to release, so close to holding her once more. And always, the voice in his memory. Do not look back. Simple words, but carried now on the weight of love and the quiet ache of waiting. Step after step he moves forward, each breath a promise, each step a prayer. And the light grows brighter still, until the shadows begin to thin, and the earth itself seems ready to open into the night sky above. The light is close now, so close that Orpheus can see the faint outline of stone melting into sky. The cave's breath has changed, cooler, freer, carrying with it the promise of the world above. His heart races quietly, not with fear, but with the tender ache of longing. Every step has carried him here to this moment of return. And still behind him, the sound of her footsteps, soft, trusting. The music of her presence echoing through the silence. He longs to reach back with his hand, to close the space between them, to assure her that all is well. But he cannot. He must not. The rule lingers in his mind as fragile and clear as glass. And yet, love is not always obedient. Love leans, love reaches, love aches to see what it holds dear. And in one small trembling breath, he glances back. The moment is weightless, like the pause between heartbeats, like the stillness before a note is played. Eurydice is there, her eyes gentle, her face calm. She looks at him with a softness that feels like forgiveness. And then she begins to fade. Not quickly, not cruelly, but like mist rising from a meadow, like morning fog thinning in sunlight. Her outline wavers, her colors grow pale, the rhythm of her footsteps drifts into silence. She does not fall, she does not cry, she simply slips away, as though the underworld were reclaiming a dream that never fully belonged to daylight. Orpheus reaches out, but his hand meets only air, the cool, quiet air of twilight. And then there is only stillness, the cave, the stones, the faint glimmer of stars beyond the mouth of the passage. He is alone. The silence folds around him, not harsh, but endless. Like a song unfinished, like a story paused in mid-line. He closes his eyes, listens for her steps one last time. But there is nothing. Only his own breath. Only the echo of what once was. And slowly, he steps forward, into the night air, into the world above. The twilight sky stretches wide, violet fading to indigo, stars trembling like tiny notes of music. But for him, the world is muted. The village lights are distant, the fields are silent. And he carries with him both the memory of her touch and the hush of her absence. Alone now, yet not empty, for he still has his music. He still has the lyre at his side. And though Eurydice has returned to shadow, her presence lingers in every note he will ever play. The song of love, the song of loss, the song of twilight itself. And so he walks into the evening, a figure against the starlit sky, a boy with a lyre and a heart that carries both light and shadow. Orpheus walks beneath the stars. The cave is far behind him now, its shadows sealed, its silence complete. The air of the living world feels different, cooler, lighter, as though every breath carries both sorrow and renewal. He pauses on a hillside. The lyre rests against his chest. For a long while, he does not play. He simply stands, listening to the faint stirring of leaves, to the quiet song of crickets, to the whisper of grass moving in the evening wind. And in that stillness he begins to strum a single note, soft, tentative, like the first star rising in the sky. Then another, and another, until the air is filled with a gentle stream of sound. Not triumphant, not sorrowful, something in between, a twilight melody, a song that belongs both to loss and to love. The notes float outward, and the night seems to listen. The trees tilt their branches toward him. The streams quiet themselves to hear. Even the stones along the path seem to hold their breath as the music drifts across them. His song carries Eurydice's presence, her laughter, her footsteps, the warmth of her hand in his, all woven into melody, into echoes that shimmer against the stars. And though she is gone, she is also here. In every sound he shapes, in every silence between the notes, in every breath of night air that carries his music. As the song unfolds, the world softens around him. The villagers far below drift into their own quiet dreams. The animals curl into rest. The night deepens, dark velvet scattered with starlight. And still he plays, not to call her back, not to change the past, but to honor the love that remains, to let it live in sound, to let it soothe the air, the earth, the hearts of those who listen. The melody becomes slower, gentler, like waves lapping on a moonlit shore. He sits in the grass, letting the earth hold him, letting the night embrace him. And slowly, his eyes grow heavy. His breath deepens. His body softens into stillness. And perhaps, in dreams, Eurydice is near again. A quiet joy, a gentle presence, walking beside him under a twilight sky. And so the story closes, not with an ending, but with an echo, a soft song that lingers, a twilight that welcomes sleep. Rest now, my friend. Let go into the quiet. The story is here to hold you. The night is here to soothe you. And sleep will carry you the rest of the way.